Hi, this is Joan Rivers, and you are lucky enough to be listening to the Paulie Z Show because he's terrific.
Yo, 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 welcome back to the Paulie Z Show. This is episode number 28, and today we have a legend. Oh, when I say legend, I don't use that word lightly. She is a legend in her own right. And I think this is actually the first female guest, too. I believe this is the first female guest on the Paulie Z Show. And let me tell you something. She is hot. She is smart. She is dynamic, stunning, and she's got great tits. I know because I felt them. That's right. I'm talking about Joan Rivers. That's right. Joan Rivers is on. And the reason, do we need a reason to have her on? No, but specifically because Z-Rock Season 2 is coming out on DVD June 8th. And I guess by the time this episode is up and running, that'll probably be right around that time. So I wanted to get her on to come because she's pretty much like part of the cast. She's not really a cameo. I mean, she really was part of the Z-Rock family. And I wanted to talk to her and her experiences, with regard to being on the show. Joan, you there? Say hi.
I am here and anxious to talk to you.
Hi. How you been? I haven't seen you in so long. What have you been up to?
I know. Well, they should have renewed for the third year, and they were stupid. And I haven't seen you since they called to say that's it. They're not picking us up for the third year.
I know. We were all sad.
Lesson. It's a good lesson to learn in a sense because things should go down and then up and then down. So you appreciate when it's up.
Yeah, that's definitely true because I got to tell you, the last couple of years, we were doing really well when a lot of people that I knew were hurting. Like friends of mine were out of jobs and people were having trouble with their mortgages and things like that. And it was like we really didn't feel it. Like we were doing really well. And then as soon as we found out that it wasn't renewed, it was like all of a sudden reality set in. And you're right. It's like sometimes you have to have something taken away to really appreciate what you had to begin with.
So when you get the next show, you'll go, okay, we're having a good time again, and we know it. Yeah,
and now we got to make sure we really parlay it into something bigger, because it's hard to sometimes you forget that things don't last forever.
Nothing lasts forever.
Well, actually,
as a mafia friend told me.
Although Joan Rivers, you last forever. You see,
I am lasting damn close to forever. I'll tell you that.
So, for at the time of this tape, well, actually, when this podcast comes out, the DVD will probably be out. Had just been released in stores. So, everyone who is fans of the show is really excited that the DVD is coming out. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your experience because you were on season 1 and then we brought you back in season 2. And you're kind of a staple on the show. Like, I don't look at you as a cameo. I feel like you're part of the actual cast. What was your experience?
I felt that way. I thought you guys are terrific. I thought the premise was wonderful. And it was great to catch a rock act. And that moment when they're going from beginning to God knows where, they're really starting to shoot up, and they're young, and they're nice. They're rock and rollers, but you can relate to them. And I thought it was great. I loved doing the show.
Well, we loved having you. I mean, we learned so much from you too because your timing is impeccable. It's like
right.
Oh, forget about it, because the thing is because a lot of people don't realize that it was mostly improv. So, like, there's a lot of times where, especially Jay Okerson would catch me, by surprise. He'll say something, and I didn't really know what to say because we weren't really experienced at this. And you never had a pause. Like, you always had a comeback. It was amazing.
But I come out of improv. You guys come out of music, and it's a whole different thing. But I'll bet when you sit around and you do improvisational things in music, you're never at a loss.
Right. It's the mind frame is there. I mean, I think for us, the reason we were able to do it is because it was the three of us. So we had our own chemistry and our own timing.
Right.
If it was any one of us by ourselves, I think it would have been a whole different ballgame because we would have had no one to feed off of.
But the three of you together make a very interesting dynamic because you are all three so different.
So let me ask you a question. Are you? I know in the show you were talking about David Lee Roth and how you had a thing for him or whatever. But in real life, were you a rocker?
No, I was never anything except working like a dog to get to be a comedian. I talk about it a little bit in my documentary now, and they got me one day when I was talking, and I thought, wow, but it was true. Nothing. I went through everything. One goal, just to be a comedian. That was it. I didn't look to the right. I didn't look to the left. I didn't do anything. I was very boring. I was down in the village, not when rock and roll was starting. The Mamas and the Papas got amplification. They were the first ones, and they really started to move. And Bob Dylan was down there, and nobody knows where he fitted into that picture. But there were very interesting people at that time with music, but I wasn't what you call a rocker.
Well, so what did you listen to, though? I mean, obviously you had something that...
What do I listen to and did listen to? Obviously the Beatles. I mean, the Rolling Stones. I mean, that was all classic, really. Stevie Nicks. That was my generation. Different set of people coming through. And this is going to make you nauseous. Show tunes.
No, that's not true. Because but you know what? Believe it or not, my dad was really into show tunes also. There was not too much, but there was some show tunes that he liked. And I remember this place. I wonder if you know it. Do you remember a place called Footlight in the village?
Yes.
You remember Footlight?
Yes.
That's so funny. He used to take us there when we would go to the village, and we would go to comic book stores and toy stores and record stores. And then he always had to take us to Footlight. And that was we had to kind of deal with it. So we'd sit there for hours while he would just search for different soundtracks and stuff like that. And it was so awkward because, it was kind of
boring.
Yeah, boring. And, the kind of, it was kind of like the vibe was very gay, not that there's anything wrong with it.
Well,
but when you're 10 years old, you're like, oh my God, who are they? They're coming in oh, darling, did you get the new, Canary record?
I just drove in from Connecticut with two gay friends, and we had on a serious, the whole show tune channel that is nothing but show music. And the thing into New York was, what show is that from? They knew every show. I think it's very interesting.
Well,
they knew every single show.
That sounds like the game we play when we're on tour. It's called the iPod game, where each person goes around and we shuffle the songs, and everyone has to choose, gets a turn to choose the artist and stuff. It passes the time, but that must have been a little strange for you to be in the middle of that.
Well, now let me ask you, what do you think of Lady Gaga while we're talking about the new?
I think she's great. I mean, I think to me, she's like the Madonna of this generation. I think she's kind of taking what Madonna did and expanding upon it. And I think she's great. I'm curious to see how long she'll last. She looks like she has the potential to last.
Yeah, I think of all of them, I think she's the one who would probably last. Did you ever work with her? Did you ever meet her in the clubs?
No, not yet. Not yet. I have yet
she
to meet
opened
her.
for me. How about that?
Where?
Opened for me at the Cutting Room, but under her old name before she was Lady Gaga. I didn't even know.
What did she do? She was just was she singing
Who
and
knows?
dancing? Or?
She was an opening act. She was a nice, kind of homely girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And then someone said, do you remember she turned into Lady Gaga, and you go, oh my God.
Now, how does that happen?
Much nicer.
But how does that happen? Is that just somebody who found her and orchestrated that, or is it just luck, or is it just? I mean, how does how do you parlay?
I think it's just somebody finds them, and there's the talent there. The same as you guys. There's got to be the talent to make it work,
right?
And then you've got to have the person that knows what to do with it.
Right.
Where to place it, where to put it. And that's very difficult. I mean, I had 7 years in Greenwich Village in those days, working little teensy-tiny clubs with everyone telling me you're wrong.
What do you mean by you're wrong?
And then finally, Bill Cosby was on The Tonight Show, and he said to them, use her. She can't be worse than some of these others you have on. And that's how I got my break. One person finally said, oh, give her a break, that poor bitch.
Right. But it's almost like what it feels like sometimes. It's just like you almost, sometimes I feel like you're hanging in just for that break. You're just like, okay, it's just
You're
hanging long
hanging in.
enough. You're hanging long enough, then someone's going to be like, give that guy a break.
Yeah, and that's really because all you need is everyone's scared to go on the line for new things.
Yeah.
You know, and so all you need is one person say, "Oh, what the hell? Put them on, take a shot."
Right.
And I guess that's what happened with her. And then she was obviously very smart to wear the crazy clothes. I mean, look at going back to my look at Kiss. What made Kiss stand out so much? The way they would dress, that madness of the clothing.
Yeah. And it's funny because I tell people all the time too, like imagine if there was no such thing as Kiss or Alice Cooper, and then someone today said, I'm going to put on makeup and go out and dress like them. I mean, I can't even imagine what the kind of adversity they had back then. People must have thought they were insane. Insane.
Alice Cooper, even more than Kiss.
Yeah, because he
Alice
was more
Cooper
the first
was
one.
shocking.
Yeah.
You know, and then everyone said you meet him off stage. Probably a nice guy.
He's super nice and he's smart. He's like one of those guys. He's like one of those guys that I look up to. Like I call it the D. Snyders of the world and the Alice Coopers, the ones that are like, you know, in real life, they've got it together. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But so how long did it take you? I'm just curious. You said you were trudging it out for about 7 years or so. So like when you actually hit, like how old were you?
I was 32 when I hit.
So, and how long were you actually doing that? 7 years?
At least 7 years, probably longer. I always say 7 years because it sounds so biblical.
Right.
But I was doing it right out of college, so it was probably longer. It was probably closer to 10 years. Really knocking around and office temporary jobs and working all the free little clubs, you know, and just trying to. And then every once in a while, like something good would happen, you would get to go to Second City and do improvisation for 6 months in Chicago. Or I got to go on USO tours in those days. At USO tours, I think it made our boys want to go into battle after watching me.
Right.
I think they volunteered. Oh, my God.
Funny.
Yeah. Where do I sign up?
What kept you, you know, it's funny because being in a band, like, you know, people don't realize how many ups and downs there are in the entertainment business. You know, we had, you know, Z-Rock for us was a major up, you know, and then not, you know.
Not just for you. A major show and renewed, darling. Renewed.
Yeah.
So continue.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that, like, but then people
Absolutely.
they don't realize the other part of it. Like when, even like being on tour, you know, there's that 1 hour of the show, which is paradise, and then 23 hours of just, you know, torture. And people don't realize, but what I was going to ask you is, with us, we at least, being in a band, there's someone to complain to. There's someone to, like, feel your pain. Like, for you, how was that? Like, you know, those 7 years.
Terrible.
Like, so who tells you? What kept you going? Like, was anyone there to say, look, you got to hang in there?
No. Nobody was there to say that, including my parents. No. I just wanted it so badly. And you also know, as you said, then you get on stage that hour. And
it's worth it.
You get, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do.
That's the problem, man. So, because I'll be honest with you, Joan, it's like there are days that I get up and I'm like, you know what? I can't take this. It's too much. My head is spinning. It's so much, you know, frustration and emotional turmoil, blah, blah, blah. And then you put me on stage, even at the crappiest, shittiest little club, you put me on stage, I get off, I said, okay, I'm back. This is what I was meant to do. Like, it reminds you of why you do it, why you go through everything.
Right.
And
it's like it's an addiction.
Yeah.
It's, this is what I want, and I have to go through all this crap to get to my fix, and the fix is the stage.
You said something to me that I thought was awesome. I think I'll never forget it, and I think it was season 1.
I must have been drunk.
Yeah, I think you were. No, it was you gotta love the process. That was something I think you said.
Yes.
And
I do. And don't you? Whether you're creating the music, the rehearsal period, it's so much fun. It's so much fun to walk onto a set. You've got to love the process of it all.
But what I took from that was I think, because obviously it's easy to enjoy the good stuff, you know. What I took from that statement was that the process, meaning the good and the bad, like all the frustration, all the work, all the mental anguish, and the, you know, drudging it out. And when you said that, it made me think, and it's like, yeah, you know what, like, you gotta love it, because sometimes people come up to me like, how do you deal with this and how do you do that, and you gotta, and it's like, I don't know, it's part of the process. This is what
There
you
was
have to
an
do.
old play, and then they made it into a movie. I think it was called The Actor. This goes back to I'm such a movie buff. I guess it's the 50s.
Okay.
And it shows what he goes through, and he's waiting tables at 45, in between things. And finally he loses his wife and his family, and he's going out second night. He's finally in a hit, and his agent said to him, "Was it worth it?" It's the last line of the movie. And he turns to her as he's walking on stage. He's a big star now. And he turns to her and he says, "Yes." And that always stayed with me. Because you got to love the business. Otherwise, Paulie, you could go out. You're adorable. You'd be very successful as a staffer. You would be, who knows, you could be brilliant as a professor somewhere. But you love what you do. And therefore, that's the best thing that you can do.
Well, then as far as when you were saying about like this guy with the family and stuff like that, how was that for you? I mean, did you find that, getting into the business and being successful and almost like just one-track mind, did that affect your personal life too? Like to the point where it's like, okay, well, I didn't really get to have that side of my life altogether because I did this. Or were you able to do both?
That's a brilliant question. And,
well, I'm
there
a
was
brilliant
choices.
interviewer.
Yeah, well, what can I tell you?
I mean, listen, and not everybody has their own radio show. There's a reason I have a show here.
It was, yes. Today, I have no private life. I'm always laughing. I always say, I have no life. I have no life. Because my career is in a very good moment now. And when it is, you have to run with it. So, I always made sure that my family, like my husband and my daughter, came first. But outside of that, it was the career.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean
there
that.
There are sacrifices. Of course, there's major sacrifices.
But how do you
stop? Go ahead.
How do you? When you said just what you said now, that's what I was trying to get at. Like, how do you maintain that? How do you work it so that comes first, but the career has to come first? So who comes first? There's times where, how do you juggle that?
It's very difficult, and you juggle it by really saying which is more important at the moment.
Okay.
And you can't, no job in show business is 9 to 5. It's whatever it is to whatever it is. It's maybe 7, as you guys know, to 4 in the morning. And that is very difficult on family life. And you've got to have a family that understands or is involved in it. What saves you, I think, is that your brother's in it. So your family understands a little more because there's somebody else saying, we both do this.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely
But wait till you get married and have families.
Yeah, well, I got married in October.
Yeah, but it's family.
Oh, yeah, kids, you mean?
Yeah, the wife understands that she can go with you, and you can still run together, and that's great. When the child comes, do you want to miss the first day of school?
Right.
And maybe the first day of school is the first day of a major tour. What do you pick? And how does your wife react to that? A lot of choices coming up in your life, kiddo.
I know. And that's why I'm working my ass off now, because I'm trying to get something going, parlaying whatever we've done. Look, if it ended all tomorrow, I cannot look back and say I was disappointed. We've achieved what...
Amazing.
Thousands of people would like give their left arm to achieve. But it doesn't... It's still, there's like that, I guess it's that suffering artist mentality. It's like it's never enough. You know what I mean? It's like...
It's never enough.
It's never enough. It's not. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it's not what I envision. I want to be, Lady Gaga, and if I was her,
you do.
I want to be, and if I bet you Lady Gaga is not satisfied. 100%.
Absolutely. And that's what keeps the artistic person creating. Nobody that's satisfied with what they do is still creative. That's the end.
Right.
That's the end of the process. But what's going to happen to you, and you mark your words, you call me when it happens, it's going to all blow into something huge for you, just as you're having your second child and your wife is saying, Paulie, you can't travel anymore. And you're going to say...
So is that, it's almost like Murphy's Law. So maybe I should just have my kid now, have a kid now because that'll rush it. If I have the kid now, then the success will come quicker.
Will come quicker because you're going to have to say, you married into this, and this is what my life is, and you've got to understand it. And that will be your fight.
Right. No, thank God I don't have that problem. That's the one thing, and that's been very secure for me, is I don't have that issue. It's, you don't
have 3 children at the point.
Oh, yeah, that's
either.
True. You're right. Well,
Where
that's
your
why I'm
wife
holding
says,
on.
little Johnny, it's his first day in Scouts. Why aren't you there?
Right. Exactly. You're right. That's the tough part. And the great thing is though that we are an actual kids band too. And what's great about that is that I'm trying to figure out a way that we can do both so that I can at least have that in my arsenal as later on in life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't have to just rely on touring and stuff like that.
Well,
and that's the trick.
Performing for children is hilarious and very lucrative. Who are those 3 big men from Australia?
Oh, the Wiggles.
The Wiggles.
Yeah, the 4 guys from Australia. Yeah, I mean, it's
4 guys. My God, and nobody started out wanting to be a Wiggle.
No, of course not, and that's the issue. But that's the issue we have. Everybody keeps telling us, just go, do it. It's where the money is. And I'm like, it's not just about the money. It's like I know what I was meant to do. I was meant to do,
Right.
something more than just that. Yes. Can I just do that? Yes. But I could have been an accountant too. I mean, I'm sure there's a million things you could do. But like you said, like you had your eye on a prize. It's like, how do you stop from doing that?
And you don't.
You
and
don't.
You shouldn't. And you go through life once, darling. And boy, does it go fast.
I know. You don't think about
idea.
that, right? You don't think about that when you're a kid. You don't realize. And then it starts like catching up to you.
Oh, I turn around and go, how old am I? That's ridiculous.
Well, how do you feel, though?
I feel amazing. I feel like I'm 25.
What's your secret
I'm running
to
around.
that?
I'm on the road now. I'm in 2 days in Florida, and then I fly to Pennsylvania, and then I fly to L.A.
I got to be honest with you. When we were on set, I mean, we were having a hard time because we're not used to waking up so early. We would get there, and we were like, lethargic, and we're like, oh, God, when is this going to end? Because, we're so used to a different time frame. You were like, I never saw you tired. I never saw you like, upset or complaining. I mean, what is the secret? You're like a firecracker.
I love the business. I love sitting in those crappy little dressing rooms. I love the process.
What about, but
love
just
everything. Love the business. Love that I'm in the business.
But physically, I mean, what are you doing? I mean, like, this might be a good segue to my food talk because, this show is about music and food.
Food also.
Yeah. Well, what do you do as far as when it comes to health? Like, are you a pretty good eater? Do you exercise? Do you how do you keep yourself going?
I'm a vitamin freak.
Okay.
I take packs of vitamins in the morning and more at night. I've been doing this for years, and I don't want to hear, oh, well, you have expensive urine. Obviously, something's working. So I do that, and I try to eat one healthy thing a day. But I live on M&Ms. I live on Twixes.
Really?
I just had the most delicious lunch, which was a Kit Kat and coffee.
I didn't picture you for like a junk food girl. Really?
Junk food.
Wow.
People will invite me. They'll say, oh, they're truffles and they're this. Ugh. Let's go and get some really good pizza, or let's go to an Italian restaurant. I just want to eat something delicious.
Wait, now have you
or Jewish food. Oh.
No? Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, you like it? Okay. Well, gefilte fish?
Germa.
Gefilte fish. Knish.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Give me a hot knish, and you go eat your cafe foie gras.
My uncle just brought over the other day. Do you know Russ and Daughters?
No, don't start. Is it delicious?
Oh, Russ and Daughters is like a famous Jewish deli down in, not a deli, but it's like a catering place. Like they have, what? Oh, yeah, on Delancey, my producer said. It's down there. It's Russ and Daughters. You got to go. It's like all homemade gefilte fish, pickles, and herring. And, it's like all that kind of stuff. But it's like famous, And he brought this gefilte fish over with this like Russian, what do you call it? Horseradish. Oh, my God. It was unreal.
My father was a doctor, and he had a lot of ethnic patients. And when you would cure somebody, they would make them in those days something delicious. So we grew up on the most amazing Jewish food and homemade challah breads and all this kind of stuff. And I miss it so much now. And there's only one place now. What is it? Sammy's Romanian in New York that you can go and have a really big, delicious, ethnic, greasy food. It's great.
Well, what about Katz's? Have you had Katz's pastrami?
Yes.
That's great. Are you so you're really you don't watch like I mean you eat meat, you eat junk food, you eat everything then, right?
Yes.
That's incredible.
I eat tremendous junk food. This documentary they did of me, Joan Rivers, A Piece of Work, the two documentarians were vegans, not even vegetarians, vegans.
Right.
And I just thought, what? Are you guys crazy? And we go out to eat and we have like lettuce and nuts.
Yeah, they can't eat anything. But how does that doesn't affect you? Like, were you just lucky, or I mean, how does that not catch up to you? All that crap.
It probably has, but I also make sure I eat my salmon. I also, you make sure you have your vegetables and you make sure you have the fruit and stuff like that. But it's never as good as
Yeah, no, of course. But whatever's good for you is always bad for you. Well, you're in. I mean, I got to tell you, you're in good shape, and I should know. I know firsthand that you're in good shape because I grabbed your boobs.
You grabbed You were very shy, but you didn't want to.
I was.
You should explain to your audience. They wanted you to grab me, and I put tissue paper in my bra so you wouldn't feel guilty. And I just said, go for the boobs.
That was a fun scene. I wasn't nervous about I was more so I just wanted to make sure you were cool with it. Like I was just, didn't want to disrespect.
At this age, for God's sake.
And then you went, the funniest thing is then you went for my crotch and I wasn't prepared for that. So that was a real
you hadn't put
reaction.
Tissue paper in.
Yeah, I had no tissue paper down there. So, but so that was a fun scene. I remember telling people and I was like, how many people can say that they grabbed Joan Rivers' boobs? I mean, come on. If that's not an accomplishment, I don't know what is.
That should definitely go on a resume.
Yeah, that and you know what I just did recently, which was one of the most amazing things. I got to sing the national anthem at a hockey game, a professional hockey game.
Oh, fabulous!
Yeah, 15,000 people on the ice. It was the most amazing feeling in the world. It was one of the things I always wanted to do.
That's
so cool.
Fabulous! Oh dear, night to remember, and you will remember it.
Oh, of course. So where do you, like, when you're on I mean, you travel a lot, obviously, then.
Yeah.
So where do you, besides the junk food, because obviously you can get that anywhere, but, like, if you were going to tell people, like, my fans they love to hear, like, different recommendations from the guests that I have on. They'll say, like, oh, if you're in this state, go here or whatever. What's some of the places that you, like, really love to go to?
Well, let's just do New York. New York, if you want just good home cooking and you're in the theater district and you don't want to be robbed, you go to Joe Allen's because they have the best salmon, they have the best hamburgers, they have great salads. And there's certain places you just know are good. New York, I go to a place called Sarah Beth, very home cooking on 59th Street.
59th and what?
And 59th Street, I think 5th and 6th.
Okay.
And just simple and good. And they have meatloaf. Remember meatloaf?
Yeah, of course.
They have just good, home, delicious meals.
So you're not a fancy. You're not. It seems like you're not into like fancy schmancy stuff.
No, I know. I don't. At every party, and I give a lot of very, snappy parties. I call them
snappy.
I still always serve pigs in the blanket, and all those gorgeous hors d'oeuvres go out with a little dollop of this and a little potato with the caviar on it, and all that stuff. You can't even figure out what the hell it is.
Right.
And the ones that come back, the trays that come back to the kitchen empty, are the trays that had the
junk
pigs
food
in the blanket.
Yeah, of course, the junk food always.
The junk food always.
It's just it's like we try so hard. The three of us are. I mean, you obviously it's no secret that the three of us are in incredible shape and we're built like Greek gods. But
well, everyone says it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
It is what it is.
It is what it is, But no, we really work hard on trying to, especially on the road, like being on the road, and obviously you can empathize with that. It's really tough to be healthy because
it's very tough.
All the rest stops are McDonald's and it's gas stations, and it's like it's all junk or carbs or sugar, and it's very, very difficult.
And you've got to stop, and better to stop in a diner and get yourself poached eggs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we all tend to eat in the car, and that's all crap. We know that.
Yeah, of course.
And,
It's all
and,
crap.
and what they call on sets the crafts wagon.
Oh,
The-
terrible.
That's when they have out always for the crew food to pick them up. So what's going to be on the crafts wagon? There's going to be chocolate and cookies and little Snicker bars.
And those potato
and-
chips, those bagels.
Yeah.
Remember in Z-Rock,
Yeah.
every morning in Z-Rock, I kept telling him too, I was like, is there any way we can get something that's other than a bagel with cream cheese or potato chip? It was all like just heavy, heavy stuff. Because it's also the least expensive too.
It's the least expensive. And remember, you've got your cameramen and you've got your crew and you've got your best boys working. And you got to fill these guys up.
Yeah. Well, so when you do a movie or something, are you pretty picky? Like I know some people have writers and they're like, I have to have this, this, and this, or are you just kind of like whatever you want to put, I'm fine.
M&Ms and coffee.
M&Ms
and that gets this old lady out on the set.
Well, you know what? Then I think we're gonna have to call you for our next music video because I think we can afford that. We can afford M&Ms and coffee. We actually just did a video with John Popper was in it, and yeah, that was so much fun. And I mean, we'd love to do something together in the future. Well, what are you doing now? Like, tell everybody what you're doing.
I'm doing a reality show which you guys will be involved in somehow or other. It's visiting with Melissa called Mother Knows Best, and we're starting to film it in July, and it goes on in December. So we're doing that, and then the documentary came on. And then I have another show called How'd You Get So Rich, which is on TV Land now in its second season. And everything.
Wait, what?
Anything and everything.
How'd You Get So Rich? What is that something that you like host
on
or
TV Land? It's fascinating. We go around to people's houses. You know how you drive past a house? You guys have toured. It's in Indianapolis. You go, who the hell lives in that huge house? How'd they get so rich?
Right.
So we find out. And we go in and we interview them how they got rich, and then they show me all their toys.
Oh, okay. So that's what I mean. So you're hosting it, and then you go to different people. Okay, so it's not it's not based on celebrities.
Oh no, it's based on rich people that have gotten rich by inventing the wee wee pad or the chia pet,
right.
or the guy that did Billy Bob teeth. That's what we've done, and that's who we. That's who we literally have. We have a guy that became the biggest wholesale market of drugstores by going to every individual drugstore in the country and saying, if we all band together, we'll get a better price on product. And he now represents 8,000 drugstores and has the biggest house in the Hamptons.
Wow.
So it's people that, he worked hard from nothing. And then you see how they live and what their toys are. And boy, oh boy, you guys would go nuts for some of the toys.
Oh, I can imagine. Oh, don't even get me started. I mean, you know what? Going back, I guess, to the original thing we were talking about. I mean, it's like, is it ever too late to make it rich?
Never. Look at Betty White at 88. She's finally getting going there. And on Rich, it's a good idea. And it can happen when you're 60.
Yeah.
That's what's so wonderful. If you have a good idea and you can think of a better way to make house paint, you can be 100, and if it works, you're suddenly rich.
Right. That's true. I mean, that's the thing that keeps me going, too. It's like, and what's funny is people don't realize it is an up and down thing. It's like a roller coaster.
Totally.
So you have to know that. That's why I remember when you said trust, love the processes, because you got to know that. It's like for every crappy moment, there's going to be that great moment, whether it's after
exactly.
And that's what you live for. You live for those great moments.
Exactly right.
So is there anything you regret?
Nothing really. Somebody once said to me, you only regret things you didn't do. I regret before my husband killed himself, not trying to settle with Fox and bringing them all into one room and say, what is going on here? But I wasn't strong enough then. I wasn't old enough to know that then.
Sometimes
as you get older, the only good thing about getting older is you have a lot more guts because you go, stop this nonsense.
Yeah. That's the hard part, right? And then when it's funny when older people try to tell you things,
you don't want to hear.
Well, it's hard because you can't see it from their point of view. Like I've always tried to open myself up. I think I've been pretty good with being able to listen to other people because I've knew from an early age that like they know more than I do. You know what I'm
They've
saying?
been through it. They
Yes.
may not have the right answer, but they've been through it. And it's always interesting to see how they got through it.
Right. The only thing that I find is that, I think at the end of the day, you still got to stick to your guns because there's been things that people have told us that we weren't comfortable with. So how do you can't do something that's just not sincere.
Listen to yourself, and you've got to listen to your gut, and just do. I see you make mistakes. So what? Nothing is over, and nothing truly, truly, truly. My God, I made a terrible mistake. It's all right. You're going to wake up tomorrow, and you're a day beyond the mistake.
Right. You just keep going. It's like a circle.
Keep going.
Where were
you?
you?
Soon it's a week beyond the mistake. As soon as 2 months, and soon nobody even remembers or gives a damn.
Joan, you are a very, very wise woman.
Very
smart,
wise.
very wise. And that's an attractive quality. I wonder in another dimension, or if the situations were different, I think me and you would have made a great couple.
Oh, there's no question.
I really do. I think it would have been.
What's your wife's name?
Kim.
Tell Kim to watch out.
Uh-oh. I'm gonna
Tell that bitch to just watch her.
If I get like a secret package of gefilte fish from a secret admirer, I'm gonna know who it is. I'll know who it is. Is there anything you want to plug? You said
Nothing.
that
It's just great talking to you, and anything and everything to you guys, and you know I mean that.
Right. Joan, thank you so much. And I know you mean that. And that's why it means a lot to me. Because people say that sometimes and they're like, yeah, anything I could do. But certain people really mean it. And, and obviously the same for us. I mean, I don't know if there's anything we could offer you. But if
you'll be on my reality show, don't worry.
There you go. If there's anything we can do to help you out, and that, we're always here. But I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Because I know you are working your butt off out there.
Thank God.
Yeah. And
I love you. And best home to Kim. And to the boys.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much. Love you too.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So, there it is. Joan Rivers. What an amazing woman. Really. She just influenced a generation of people, and she's still doing it. And it's like, again, and I apologize to my audience. Like sometimes I know I get into this like mode where it's like, I'm trying to get out my frustration. The only reason I do that is because I want to be real with you guys. Like, I think that there's a lot of, there's gold in them hills, when you talk about real shit. Like, I don't want to sugarcoat and be like, yeah, life's great, everything's all right. I was like, no, it's hard. It's really, really hard, but it's worth it. Like she said, it is so worth it because I love what I do, and very few people get an opportunity to do what they love for a living, and we are. So it's like I'm super thankful for that. So anyway, Joan Rivers, great interview. Now let's talk to Benny Boy, I think is on the line, and we're going to talk about the new Rat record, actually. Benny, you there?
I am. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Some people have called me a great woman as well.
Oh, you heard that? I didn't know Benny heard that. Yes, you are a great influential woman yourself.
Waiting in the wings. Yes, influential, and I also do love what I do for a living. I don't know if your audience knows, but this call-in gig actually pays me $80,000 a year.
I didn't know that. I have to check with our accounting. I was wondering
really,
what that check was.
I'm really singing for my supper here, but no, that's great.
No, but you know what? But it's funny because we did get into that today. I had Joan on, and it was like right away. We just started talking about the show, and it's just like what the next move is and stuff, and it's a difficult path. No one who's achieved anything great had an easy path. It's just it just doesn't happen. If it was easy, everyone would do it. So it's like there's a lot of bumps in the road, and it's great. I love talking to people like that, because it inspires you. It's like they went through it. They were there. They had those ups. They had those downs. They made the mistakes.
Absolutely.
And they're still doing it. Yeah, and speaking of which, like even this is a good segue into the new Rat album because, I mean, look at these guys. This is a band that was, on the top of their game, 20-something years ago. And then what? You know, Cobain came in and he just to gave everybody a pink slip. You know, and like what?
Yeah.
And they've been struggling. You know, didn't they have sort of some reunions here and there? They tried to get together and this and this and that. Nothing really
They
ever.
were. They were. Yeah. I mean, at one point they were. At one point, these guys were at war. I mean, you had literally there was a point where Piercy, I don't even.
Piercy, I think.
Was going out as like Stephen Percy's Rat. Like he was. It's like, okay, you guys are Rat, but they had John Corabi.
Right.
And you know, a few other people in the band, but you know, Percy wasn't ready to give that up. So yeah, there were a lot of years where it was just kind of like, what is this band doing? Are they ever really going to have any sort of resurgence in any way?
Yeah.
And
maybe I should go out as Paulie Z ZO2.
I think so. I think
Paulie
you should just
Z.
go out on your own, and you know, and
here's
you
what
know, it could be like maybe Joe and Dave could go out as like Z1, J1 or something like that.
No. Here's what I'll do. I'll go out as Paulie's ZO2, and I'll hire Dave and Joe to be in the band.
You should just hire a bunch of ringers. You know, get another guy to, you know, slap on the bandana and be Dave, and you know, you can get another drummer to like ape all of Joe's little, you know, twirly stick moves and.
No, but how funny would it be if I actually just hired Dave and Joe to play themselves, but I call it Paulie's ZO2? That would be a little insane. That'd be not.
You should just explain to them that they're now on like retainer, like you guys are on salary. Like a lot of people, like with Bon Jovi, it's my understanding that the band is actually on salary. Like I didn't know that, but it's been expressed to me a few times that like, you know, Richie Sambora is well paid, but that he's actually like that he is like retained by John Bon Jovi.
I didn't know that. I mean,
like
I know Ace and Peter were, you know, in the reunion tour and all that, and obviously Tommy and Eric, Tommy Thayer, Eric Singer in Kiss. But yeah, I didn't know that with Bon Jovi. That's very interesting, especially Richie. I would have thought the other guys maybe, but I wouldn't think Richie.
Maybe. I mean, it's a very strange. I'm not too sure about that because, you know, it's just what I've heard here and there, but it would be interesting. But anyway, back to the subject at hand, I guess, of Rat. You're right. This is a band that, you know, like any band, they go through ups and downs, and they had a very. I mean, this album, as I would say to people, it hasn't really sold very much, but I expected that. But it's kind of this kind of thing where, because I think the album is great, if you're in a band and you're in a position like this, you kind of have to say, it was a job well done, and at least we can be proud of that, even if we're not going to rack up the numbers at the record stores or, you know, Amazon or, you know, wherever, you know, anyone's buying this. It's just that's the reward of this is to say we made an album that stands up to our best work.
Yeah, I mean I love it, and I'm not a huge Rat fan. I mean, I love, you know, the big songs that they have, but you know, I didn't have the records and stuff, but I knew they were always well respected. They were one of the better bands of that, I think, of the hair metal.
Stripped around and round, so it was a huge favorite for you.
Say it again?
I said you used to strip to Round and Round, so it was always that one at least was a huge favorite for you.
Yeah, well, Round and Round was my theme song back in junior high when I was like, you know, 36 waist. As I would eat my Dunkin' Donuts, I'd be saying round and round.
But
so there you go.
But that's what's great about this album is that it really is like out of the cellar. It's like a return to, because here's the thing. It's like if you go to your favorite pizza place, you don't want them to change the pizza and do all sorts of experimental things to the flavor and and with the ingredients. You just want something that tastes like the great pizza you love. And I think after, well, the last studio album had Outside Riders. This was in '99. But, you know, these guys basically said, let's just make an album that the people who have always loved Rat are going to love.
Right.
And I think that's basically what you have here.
Well, that's kind of like Alice Cooper did that with, you know, like there were a few Alice Cooper albums. I have all his records, and there were a few like in the last 10 years or so that has sounded like, you know, it was trying to be heavy grunge, and even, you know, a lot of bands did that. And I understand it, but you're right. It's like sometimes just stick to what you know. That's the hard part. It's hard to just do what you do when it's not in vogue. You know what I mean? When it's easy, obviously, when everyone's appreciating it, but when it's like not the cool thing, to be able to just stick to that and say, okay, maybe we tweak it, make it a little better, but this is who we are. That's tough. And I think you're right. This the album's called Infestation, and I agree with you. I think it's a return to form. I think it's killer. I mean,
Oh yeah.
It's just a great album. I mean, I love. There's a couple of. What were we gonna say?
I'm sorry. No, I was going to apparently interrupt. That's okay.
Polite. Well, I wanted to go through some of the tracks real quick. Like I love the first track, "Eat Me Up Alive." The first two,
Eat Up Alive.
Yeah, and "Best of Me."
Best of Me, definitely. Everything I think up into As Good as It Gets, they're all stellar tracks. It's really heavy. Last Call is you get a lot of the first five are either mid-tempo.
I didn't love the third one. I don't love the third one a little too much. That one was a little bit like filler. The third one, yeah, a little too much. To me, that was a little bit like filler. It kind of like the name of the song, a little too much. It was just, was like too party. Like it was like
not enough, I guess. If you.
But the Last Call. Hey, there you go. Last Call. The fifth track.
Great.
Yeah, that's got that cool. It's almost.
Guitar riff.
It's like Van Halen-ish a little bit.
Yeah, just like Best of Me. Best of Me is a Cavazo riff. Actually, he brought that. Carlos Cavazo brought that with him, and he really fits well into this. And so, Best of Me or Last Call has that great Van Halen.
Yeah, it's funny.
Lost Weekend.
It's like Van Halen though. It's like Van Halen, but without the swing. Because every time I hear it, I feel like I'm ready for like them to go, and then they go straight. It's like, boom, so it's interesting because you get that Van Halen like flavor, but then it goes. It's obviously Rat because it's got that straight backbeat. Yeah, it's a hard groove, whereas Van Halen's much more big band swing feel.
I mean, Lost Weekend is definitely like a nod to lack of communication from out of the cellar.
Yeah. What about what'd you think of "Take Me Home"? The pseudo ballad. Kind of.
You know what? It really didn't bowl me over. I mean, I think I'm always a fan of a great ballad, but this was sort of like it didn't really work for, I guess, what they were trying to do for my taste.
I like it, but I see what you're saying. It's like the verse and the chorus seem like two different songs. It's a little disjointed. The verse it's almost like Ace Frehley. It reminded me of like from his solo album, like the '78 album. It had that vibe to it, and then the chorus just took me somewhere else. So it was a little weird, but overall, I think I think it's a strong album. I think kudos to these guys. Anything you don't like in particular?
Well, I mean, As Good as It Gets, Garden of Eden, and Take Me Home were the ones that I thought in the second half were kind of lagging a bit. I really liked Take a Big Bite, and the album ends with Don't Let Go, which is a really great, just heavy, heavy track. There's a bonus track called Scatter, which is really, it sounds like Rat fused with like STP, like the core era of Stone Temple Pilots.
Really?
But
where do you get that?
You can actually. I just heard it up on YouTube because I don't want to buy it or anything. But it's available on like all the download versions of the CD. But I mean, I think my feeling is that the reason that the first half of the album is so great is you realize, let's face it, the ace in the hole with Rat has always been Warren DeMartini, and I guess at Robin Crosby as a big riff writer, But I think especially now that DeMartini is the only original guitarist, he's really the ace in the hole with the band. He's got these really killer, edgy solos and just.
Well,
kind of like
I like the riffs. He's got those riffs that are like kind of like with the Sus 4 I mean, I don't know if people know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, but like, the high, instead of playing all low chords, it's like that. I call like that Van Halen, almost like the Panama, where it's, you know, uh, how would you describe that to someone who doesn't know, music terminology? Like just like a high, like higher pitch, the higher end of a chord, and they put all these little like colorations on it. Like think of round and round. Anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, like if you just think about the
embellished
riff and
chords.
round and round,
Yeah.
embellished chords,
Very-
yeah, embellished.
But that's what's interesting about Rat. This is one of the first bands to really utilize that drop D tuning. I mean, you can tell it was very influenced because Out of the Cellar came out like a year or so after Van Halen's Air Warning, which was an album that was largely in the key of D, but Rat made the drop D thing a part of their signature,
Was that
which is very
before?
interesting.
Was that before Girls, 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 which is drop D?
Oh yeah, Girls, Girls, Girls was like '87, and this
Oh.
was '84, and so it's like this is a big there's this underlying darkness to the Rat songs because of that drop D. I think it's great. A lot of those '80s metal bands weren't doing that. They were just sticking with the traditional key of E. I should also point out that Stephen Percy is a vocalist. Like he's got that very trademark, raspy double track sound. But
Yeah.
but as a lyricist, like some of the lyrics, and it's like on every Red album, some of them just make me cringe. Like
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah, they're not the
like he's not really all that interested in making something. On this album, you
Kinda
got
just wants
you
to
got
rhyme.
me grinning like a top, or you got me grinning like a Cheshire cat. And it's just.
Well, it's kind of just like
You
just
know,
trying to rhyme, basically, or
Yeah,
yeah.
but I get the sense that maybe he's not always working off of like this is the theme. I want to express something. He's just thinking, well, that rhymes.
Oh yeah. Right. Well, I mean, they definitely have the sound, and what I like is they also have this thing where they weave in and out of major and minor. Like they'll, and that's what I think made Round and Round so cool. Is like when they go, that they come back the second time in the chorus and they're like round and round. They do the major and then it goes back to that minor, and that was always really, really cool. I think that's what added to that sound, because most bands, it's either a major, happy kind of song or it's a sad song. They kind of went in between, and they still on this record.
Definitely, you're right. Definitely a band that was, I think, musically, and as writers too, just in general, one of the better bands of the era.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at those bands, you can always tell why some of them made it versus the ones that were just knockoffs of other bands. This band really has, and had something all along. And you're right. Musically, there's a lot more going on than people want to notice. Beyond the appearances and whatnot. So I agree with you.
It's the same problem we have. It's like people sometimes don't notice us musically because they're so enamored by our good looks, and that's the thing.
Right.
It's
they're
like
looking at the shirtless bassist and
Yeah.
thinking like,
or my
well, you
beautiful
can play.
hair, or my beautiful hair, or Joey's olive skin
maybe.
and his plantain
That's
nose.
possible. I don't know about. I mean, the bass player for sure, but I mean, maybe you guys. I don't know.
Oh, come on! What are you talking
I'd have to
about?
think about that.
What are you talking about? ZO2 is
all right.
it's three
All right.
Greek gods
you know,
with guitar with instruments. What are you talking about? Come
Well,
on.
I
man.
mean.
All right, Ben.
Yeah,
I think
as long as you keep.
oh, I guess our time's up, Benny. Oh, well, I'm
Oh, how
sorry.
about
I'm
that?
sorry. Well, look at the time. Gotta run.
Brian.
But listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Benny and me and Benny both recommend the album. It's really good.
Definitely.
Yes, you'll like it. It's great. Even the
Great.
songs that are filler are still consistent. There's not a bad song on the record. It's just a couple of them are like whatever. But for the most part, it's killer. So get it. All
Good
right.
rock and roll.
Good job, Rat. Good job. Benny,
Good job.
Listen, Benny, I'll be actually coming to LA in August, doing my podcast out there, and I wanted to know.
nice.
Yes, I'd like to have you come on in person and do a review. Would you want to do that?
I would love that.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll have water
Earn
and
my
potato
$80.
chips. That's our catering, water and potato chips. Okay, is that okay with you?
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, we'll do the or like Joan Rivers, we'll have you M&Ms and coffee. That's on her rider.
Is it?
Yeah. So, all right, bro. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Indeed.
All right, later. All right, so there you have it. Joan Rivers and Benny Boy, two legends in their own right. We got, all right, so sorry I didn't get a chance to do the Yo Paulie today. I'll try to get to that next week. So keep emailing me, yopaulie at thepauliezshow.com. You can go, and you can get this episode and all the other episodes for free at iTunes and or thepauliezshow.com. And to check out information on the band, it's zo2.com. And my Twitter is zo2paulie, if you guys want to follow my tweets. Okie dokie. So I guess I will talk to you guys later.